going to talk about a system. I'm actually going to give you a system for you to do exactly that. And it's very easy to use, very simple. It's something I created 4 or 5 years ago because as I was looking at my life, I was realizing I was making some mistakes. The money was flowing in the doors really fast. You know, when you write a #1 New York Times bestseller, the royalty checks are really awesome. You know, sometimes I get $500,000 royalty check. And what do you do with it? Well, you think it's all yours, right? And rather than taking 10% off the top for tithing and 10% off and put it in a savings account, and rather than balancing things, you just get to feel like you're just so rich it doesn't matter. So you just spend the money, and I just go out and bring the money in, shovel it in the back door. The people in the back say, "You guys take care of it back there. I'm out here. I'm pretty good at making this stuff. I'll just shovel it back there to you guys. All right? Yeah, just keep piling up in big stacks back there. I'm just going to shovel some more back there for you." And I'm out here shoveling back in and creating the wealth. But I had no idea what was happening in the back room and how it was being managed and controlled because I made an assumption, and that is I didn't need to learn that stuff. I hire people for that. Let them take care of this stuff. Because you can hire somebody for a fairly good sum. They'll take care of it, manage it, take care of it for you. Point is, there's this old saying that goes with farming, and it surely goes with your own money too, and that's the farmer's best fertilizer is his own shadow. Your money has to be the same way. You have to know where it comes from, where it passes through, and where it goes, and that goes everybody in the room, man, woman, and child. You should know where the money comes from and where it goes. You should never delegate that responsibility to anyone without you at least knowing what's happening to it. Because every one of us will probably, especially when it gets to our couples here, you don't know how long your spouse is going to be around. They may, you know, you get hit by a Mack truck tomorrow. Some of the families, the wife takes the check from the husband and does all the controlling of the money. Some families, both the husband and the wife work, and they kind of manage their own kind of funds. Some of them, the husband does everything. You all have different ways in which you control your money in your households. What I'm asking you to do is that everyone in this room should be investing for their own self. They're taking their own dollar bills a day, every dollar a day, and investing it for the long-term future. Or you are basically saying, I'm abdicating my financial responsibility to somebody else. And that is not smart. You need to know what's going on. Now, we live in a dangerous world when it comes to couples. 50% of all the couples today are going to end up in some kind of marital problems. And what's the #1 cause of divorce? Money. #1 cause of divorce. Or the lack of money, or the arguments about money. And so every one of you should have a way of controlling the money for yourself. This shouldn't, I'm not asking it to be something that splits you up. I'd actually like it to bring you together so both of you really know what's happening. And there's certain rules that you have to follow through. I'm going to kind of create for you the way the money should probably flow through your household. And if it does flow in this direction, you may have to divert the way you're spending to a brand new way of thinking about money, all right? And here it is. Let's just kind of do it together. Using the Rockefeller method or formula, we realize that every penny counts. And so we're going to figure out a way to control the pennies that flow through our life. And I'm going to draw for you something that's really, really very beautifully done here. I'm going to draw my bathtub for you. Okay, there's our bathtub. Now we see a faucet here, and then from that faucet flows money into our bathtub. And out of that bathtub, where does the money flow?
Down the drain.
It goes down most of the drain, doesn't it? Most of us don't have any money left over at the end of the month. What I'm going to do is create for you now the prosperous way for money to flow through your life. So I'm going to do a brand new bathtub here. I'm going to create a couple of faucets. And there are two kinds of faucets that you need to have flowing into your life. One faucet we're going to call linear income. Linear income is money that flows to you because you go out and get it. You spend an hour at work, you get an hour's worth of pay. That's linear income. One in, one out, you know, or an hour in, $20 out, or whatever. It's linear. This other kind of income over here is what we call residual income. Now, residual income is money that flows in because you've set things up so that you don't have to be there. That's what we call residual income. Now, how many of you have seen me do the money tree presentation before? Some of you seen me do it. In a presentation I teach around the country, I talk about the radical difference between money tree income, income that flows to you, and what I call linear income, income that you got to go out and get. Where do most people's incomes flow from today? Yeah, it comes from linear income. Where is the wealthiest faucet? Yeah, this is the kind of faucet that we're trying to create. Now, there are lots of ways to create residual income. It's money that flows to you without you having to flow for it. There are a lot of ways to get this kind of income. They look about the same at the very beginning. You know, I get $100 worth of residual income flowing in here, and I get $100 worth of residual over there, or linear and residual. And they look about the same as they flow in on a monthly basis. $100 here, $100 there. But is there a radical difference between these two? Now, this is a $100 one-time thing. If you're there and you make it, great. This is $100 a month for the rest of your life, whether you're there or not. So which is obviously more powerful? I mean, this has got to look at the time value of money for the next 50 years, or that's just a one-time shot. Although they look the same. You know, when you look on a paper, on a balance sheet, boom, you say $100, $100. This is radically more powerful. Your goal is to get as much income here as you possibly can. And the question you got to ask yourself every day is, how much time do I spend every day creating residual income? Now, if I work at a job, what are the ways in which I could create residual income if I work at a regular salaried position? Yeah, I could take some of that money out, a little sliver out, and I could put it into an investment of some sort, such as a mutual fund or a stock or some business that I own, whatever, and I could create some residual income. What's another thing I could do at my job to create residual income? Yeah, I invest in my company's retirement plan. Many of you work at companies where they'll allow you to take a certain percentage of your income, 5, 6, 7%, and the company will say, we'll match that. Now, this is getting less and less today, but it's an incredible benefit if they do it. Because if you put in 5% of your money and the company matches that, how much is that return on your money instantly? 100%. 100%. Now, what was the rate of return I said was a really pretty good rate of return? If I could get 10 to 15 to maybe 20%, that's an incredible rate of return. If your company will make your money grow at 100%, so you should be maxing out every check you can get from your company. So I can work at my company and create a retirement plan by taking a little sliver of that money and getting over here to residual. The real key to it, though, is to make sure that you turn these faucets off and you turn these faucets on. And most of us are never taught that as kids. We're just not taught. What's another way to create residual income? Yeah, I write a book. Okay. Yeah, the book I wrote in 1980 called Nothing Down. Now it's 1995, 1996, 97. We're going to write the edition for Nothing Down for the year 2000. It'll be called Nothing Down 2000. I mean, every 5 years I get to revise this book. Basically, I just double the numbers. And I just put it back on the shelf again, and people walk through, and Nothing Down's out there, and all my competitors are on the TV. They're talking about Nothing Down real estate. When they go to the bookstore, whose book do they buy? They buy my book. So that's just wonderful. So, yeah, I write a book. I get royalties. That's a fun word, isn't it? Royalty. I love that word. What other ways to create residual income are there? Okay. Oh, well, network marketing. Okay, network marketing, creating a residual income. What's any other ways?
Insurance.
Yeah, insurance. Anything else? Yeah, I can put money in investments. Isn't a dividend on a stock residual income? Yeah, I bought a stock, I paid $10 for it. It pays $1 worth of dividends. That means that the stock is just pumping off like an oil well. And that's a residual income. I didn't have to work for it. I just had to buy the stock and hope that the company just gave me these benefits. That's what residual income is. We'll be talking about those investments as we move along throughout today. What I want you to just get the concept is there are two kind of sources that are flowing into your bucket or your bathtub, and you want to get as much as you can into this thing right here. Every day you go to work, you got to ask the question, how much time am I spending here versus there? And am I diverting, or am I spending all my money that flows in here? Am I saving anything? Am I diverting anything to long-term residuals? If you're not, then you're basically saying that I am going to eat up my seed corn every day. I'm going to take all that corn that I could have go out and invest and put it in the fields, and that one kernel of corn can turn into 1,000 kernels. So every day, if I just eat up all my food, I'm just eating up my seed corn, and therefore I'm not going to be wealthy. I'm not going to be able to plant lots of crops out there. Now the money flows in from whatever these two faucets happen to be, and it flows out through various different leaks. So according to Rockefeller, what's the first leak?
Charity.
Yeah, I'm going to give a number to each of these leaks, and there are basically 10 of them. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a little side one over here, which we call 10. I'm going to change all of your financial thinking into 10 leaks. And how many of you are using Quicken right now to manage your money? See, raise your hands on, or some other computer program. You're going to change your Quicken categories to these 10 leaks. I've done it on mine. It's very easy and simple to do. A lot of times when you're using Quicken, it gets so complicated because you've got so many ways and categories for your money that you don't analyze it very well. And I want you to be simple. I want you to be able to do it in your head. You don't have to do it on a computer. I want there to be 10 ways for money to flow out of your life. And then I can divide those 10 ways into little subcategories if I want to. But most of us don't need to manage our money more than 10 through 10 leaks. So the first leak would be the leak of charity, all right? So we're going to put charity right down here. Now, well, that's strange. We would put money to other people before we would put money to ourselves. Where does the charity leak usually go for most people? It goes at the last. You know, it's the last leak we analyze. Let's see, first we take care of our family, then we take care of our house payment, we got our car payments, all that. Now, if there's any money left over, then we'll help other people with that, right? Yes?
Charity, is that before or after taxes?
That's before taxes. It comes off right off the top, right before taxes. Because if I do it right off the top, then I get to take it off my taxes. And therefore it lowers my tax bill. And therefore, instead of letting the government decide where my money goes, I pull it off the top, and I get to decide which charities I want to bless. And I don't want to let the government decide which money they want to send to help whatever poor people they're trying to help out there. I get to control it. So charity would be my first leak. Now, why do you think Rockefeller did that? First leak. Why do you teach his kids to do that?
When you give, you receive.
When you give, you receive. Now, this is all kind of airy-fairy stuff. Is that a law of nature? Does it really work?
Yeah.
When you give, you receive. What are the other psychological reasons why Rockefeller wanted his kids to do that first, not last?
Discipline.
Yeah? Discipline, number one, yeah?
To instill compassion.
To instill compassion, yes?
There's plenty.
That there was plenty, and I think that's probably the most important part there. You see, when you leave it to the last, there's never any left. There's just none left. There's a $50 here or $20 there, but if you do it first, basically what you're saying is, universe, I think the source of all wealth comes from you anyway, so I'm going to just do that first, right from the very beginning. You give it first, not last. Now, all of us in this room believe in some form of God, right? Well, maybe I shouldn't use that word so strong. Maybe a universe is the word we'll use. It's a little less, grumbly here. You should never talk about politics, sex, or religion, right? We're going to talk a little bit about spirituality for just a moment. Why do you think that some of the wealthy people you see out there can be pinched the pennies like nobody's business, and yet they'll write a $50 million check to their alma mater? Or they'll set up a whole structure of a charity foundation. When you go to lunch with them, they're real careful. They pinch them. But they write these huge checks. It's a paradox, isn't it? Isn't it a paradox? They can be so careful on one side and so incredibly generous on the other. And what I'm here to try to tell you is that they are both part of the same coin. That you have to have both of those pieces to you. And the way to first start out is to send a message to the universe that you are going to create your wealth, and that the reason for your wealth is for you to help other people. And that you're going to prove that from the very first penny. That as the money flows in from the very first penny, you're going to search out people who need it, and you're going to specifically put it into your budget and pay it that way when you have $1,000 a month, and then when you have $100,000 a month. Because I'm going to tell you, it's so difficult when you have $100,000 a month to write the $10,000 check. It's just different. If the habit is not there, it just doesn't come. If the habit is there, then as the checks grow, then you'll just do it. And therefore, I'm going to challenge every one of you to be thinking about that as your first investment. And you can try it your way, I don't care. But as you do analysis and you talk to people who have created great wealth, you find that this has been their habit almost their entire life. And I want to know why that is. And it's because it's one of the reasons that they are wealthy. Now, like I said, we all probably believe in some form of universe, higher power. We probably don't believe the same at the retail level, but at the wholesale level, we all have pretty much the same belief that there is a higher power. It's when we get to the retail level, things get all messed up, you know. Hamburger is hamburger, but then there's McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and all these other places. So we all believe in different kinds of attitudes, but I think in terms of the broad attitudes, there is a higher power, and the higher power knows where all the gold is. Is that right? Does the higher power, God if you wish, know which stocks to buy tomorrow? Does she or not? Huh?
Yes. Source of all.
How many of you believe that the higher power probably knows which real estate corners would be the ones you'd probably want to invest in? Yeah, okay. Probably knows a little more than you do. And I find it so strange that people don't involve God in their financial decisions. As if kind of like, I'm just going to do it on my own, thank you. Please, I can do this by myself. Instead of saying, hey, should I short IBM tomorrow or what? What should I do? Now, I may be just a little crass to put it that way, but I've always found, in the strangest kind of ways, that if I live my life in the spiritual way with money, because it's all spiritual anyway, frankly. We can argue about it all day long, but it's all spiritual. If I live my money life in a spiritual way and really involve the universe and say, okay, I'm going to make some money this month and I want to know where you want me to give it. Who do you want me to give it to? Your soul expands and you become wealthy with a capital W while you're making the small w wealth along the way. And I just recommend that to you, all right, without too much more discussion on it. Then where should the next money flow? Yeah, it's going to go into my savings. Okay? And that means you got to pay yourself first because you want to, second in this sense, because you're going to have a future you're going to move towards. Every one of you is going to be there. And so what kind of future do you want to arrive at? The year 2000 is going to be an incredible party, isn't it? The end of a decade, the end of a century, the end of a millennium, the beginning of a new decade, century, millennium. It's going to be a party. So where do you want to be when that happens? When the ball drops and old Dick Clark, there, young as ever, rings in the new decade, century, millennium. There are not very many people in this room who were here last time that happened. What are you going to do? How's it going to be? Where are you going to live? What's it going to be like? How financially solid are you going to be at that point? If you don't do the second one here, you basically say, I'm going to live for the moment and the future, to heck with the future. Now, if you'll do these two first, it makes your present even better. Because what's the third leak? Yeah, it's taxes. Taxes. In order of priority, this is the way it flows. It flows to God, and it flows to yourself, and it flows to Uncle Sam. Because then, after you've taken care of those three particular responsibilities, then you can do the next step, which would be, what's the most important thing next in your order of priorities? Got to have my shelter, that's right. Got to have a place to live. That would be leak number 4, shelter. So the money flows out of these faucets, and as it flows in here, it starts to fill up your particular bathtub. It's going to flow out these leaks in order of these priorities. Then when it comes to leak number 5, if I got my shelter taken care of, what's the next thing? Yeah, and I'm going to call that household because that will fit in a kind of a multitude of things. It'll fit food, it'll fit clothing, it'll fit you know, things that happen in the house. So something gets broken here and there, we're going to put that into household. And remember, this is a very broad category, so if you're using Quicken, you could take category number 5 and break it down into lots of little tiny things like food and clothing, etc. And after I've got my house and my food taken care of, then what's the next thing in order of priority? Gotta get to work, don't I? So I gotta have my transportation. So I'm gonna call that auto. And that'll be auto insurance and car payments and gasoline and oil and anything else to fix up that car, because that's in order of the priorities. Then when I get to 7, what's the next order of priorities there? Yeah, I've done all this hard stuff at this point. If I hadn't had some fun by this time, I'm going to go nuts. So we're going to put some fun into leak number 7, and that's an easy number to remember anyway when it comes to fun. 8 would stand for what I call insurance. I mentioned insurance earlier, and I was mistaken on that. I want to put all insurance under one leak. I want to put my auto insurance under this leak. I want to put my house insurance under that leak. I want to see it all at one time. I want to put health insurance, life insurance, car insurance, house insurance, liability insurance, everything. I want you to see how much money you spend on insurance. Some of you are just going to be stunned because it's all hidden over here in your payment. Well, our payment's $912.16. Well, how much is that in interest and principal? Well, it's $756. Well, what's the interest? What's the insurance on that? Well, it's $196.12. You know, is there a way to get that insurance cheaper? Does it have to be paid with my mortgage payment? Do I have to pay the insurance with my car payment? Do I do it separately? Do I have to have my health insurance taken out of my paycheck every single month? You know, I want to see it. How much am I really paying for this stuff? Because I can guarantee you that all of you in the room are paying 20, 30, 50% or more than what you really have to, is because most of it's all hidden out there. In other words, I'm saying that some of you in the room are throwing away $100 or $200 a month. You're literally ripping those little dollar bills up in tiny little piles every single month because you just haven't looked at it. And that $100 to $200 a month, that's multi-million-dollar money that you're destroying every month because you're not looking at it. Okay? Number 9 is what I call miscellaneous, or I'm going to put the first word, debt/miscellaneous. In other words, I'm going to put my debt payments over there in leak number 9, and I'm going to pay my debt first, or there is no miscellaneous. If I got my debts taken care of, then I'm going to have some miscellaneous. And leak number 10 is what I call business. And if you're not in some form of business, you got to be. And the reason I'm going to put it over here is because it relates to almost every of the other leaks as we do it. Okay, let's spend some money. We go to the store, we buy a pen. How do we categorize it? Where is it? Is it charity? Is it savings? No. Is it tax? Is it shelter? No. Is it household? Maybe. Is it auto? No. Is it fun? No. Is it insurance? No. It could be miscellaneous. Or is it business? Okay, so it could be one of 3 things.